Hey everybody, Elgin here, eXp Realty, the Elgin and Pilar Walker team, and I want to talk about 10 fears that I hear buyers talk about nowadays in regards to real estate and try to briefly address them as we go. So one is I keep hearing buyers that they're really afraid of being priced out of the market. You know that if they don't get in now, they may never get in. And to be very honest, that's a valid concern. But that being said, you should not buy something that you know realistically you cannot afford. So you should make other adjustments to get into the marketplace other than buy something that you know realistically 6 months, 12 months from the time you purchase it, if you can't refinance it or do something with it, that you could possibly be in trouble. Now, I know none of us have a crystal ball with that type of stuff, but I would tell you that you have a good idea if you're getting into something, if you can really afford it or not. And if you cannot, then you may have to change the areas you're looking at. You may have to go from a home to a townhome or to a condominium, or you may have to move a little farther out. You may have to make some adjustments, but you definitely should buy. But I understand the fear of being priced out of the market. Um, as always, getting new and incurring excessive debt, which is pretty much the same as what I'm talking about in number one. Everybody's concerned if you're about to purchase something and you now have a $500,000 mortgage for 30 years. That can be a little intimidating in the beginning. It can be a little intimidating in the beginning. But just remember that if you're renting whatever you're paying in rent, you have an infinite amount, no matter what, that you're going to pay forever, that there's no end to and no benefit from. So you just have to kind of change your mindset and look at it that way. Market crashes and you lose money. Well, see, that's one of the biggest things I think people have as a misconception. You have to remember that no matter what the market is doing, the only thing that matters is what you want to do at that particular time. So what do I mean by that? Meaning that it's all what I'd like to call monopoly money until either you're ready to buy, sell, or refinance or something. Because you can't go to the grocery store and go to pick up a loaf of bread and say, hey, my house went up $100,000 last year, and they give you the bread for free. And by the same token, the market quote unquote crashes and your property is now worth $100,000 less than it was when you bought it last year. You're not going to get your loaf of bread for free. So it only matters when you're ready to do something. So I wouldn't worry about market crashes and all of that. Here is one that I think that a buyer should be concerned about, is that there's some undisclosed property issues, something that's not disclosed that the seller just didn't disclose, or maybe the seller didn't know, or whatever the case may be. That is why you've always heard us encourage and actually require buyers to sign a waiver if they do not do a physical inspection. And you should do a physical inspection on any property that you decide to purchase. Doesn't mean that you still don't purchase the property. What it does, though, is it makes you aware of whatever issues the property may have. Also, on the buying side, you should get a home warranty. And if the seller, for whatever reason, won't provide it, get it on your own. It can help you with a lot of issues once you get into the property if there's some things that come up. Because obviously you're putting a good portion of your money down. And, a lot of us don't have a lot of leftover money after we buy a home. So you want to get protected as much as you can, just in case something happens. I know that buyers are concerned about overpaying for a property. Technically, though, again, what does overpaying for a property mean? Meaning that if you paid more and now the property value, quote unquote, went down, so what? As long as you can afford the monthly obligation. Because more than likely, and there's nothing set in stone, but in the 35 years I've been doing this, there's not a property 35 years ago that I know in the areas that I've worked that's priced less today than it was 35 years ago. odds are more than likely, if you buy a piece of property, whatever price that you purchase it at now, and obviously you've got an appraisal and all that other sort of stuff. But when you purchase it now, realistically, down the road, it's going to be worth more than it is when you bought it. The only thing you have to worry about is timing on when you decide to sell. Is when you decide to sell. Property value depreciation kind of falls into the same thing. Don't worry about it unless you're ready to buy or sell something. And as long as you can make your monthly obligation, and maybe you decide you want to do something, well, maybe instead of selling the property at that point because of what its value is, maybe you rent it out and you turn it into a rental property. Maybe you rent out a room. Maybe you do some things that whatever you need to do to keep a hold of your property for long term. And in the cases that I know, if you're able to do that for a long term, you come out okay. Sometimes longer than others. There's sometimes when people bought, particularly when the market, quote unquote, crashed in like 2008, there's some people it took 10, 15 years or whatever for the property to get back up to what it was. But guess what, at the same time, now they've been paying on it every month, so they've been buying equity into the property. So they still have more at value with the property than they did when they bought it. So regulatory changes, I think that sometimes we can all get in our heads a little bit too much with things that we can't control, and then odds are things don't happen. So like regulatory changes, in most cases, unless there's something like they change the capital gains or just something that happens from a macro position. Other than that, it's not really nothing that you should, in my opinion, be concerned about it. Properly related, like legal issues. You know what? And the one thing that you should be concerned about with that, or at least be aware, I don't know if I should say concerned, but be aware, that if you do have a homeowners association, some things like that, sometimes there will be litigation and stuff that will come up. And there could be times when that will come up that will not necessarily affect your property value, but may affect the lenders that loan in the complex for certain reasons. So I'm not going to say that's not a valid concern. You don't really find that as much in single family homes, but those are one of the things that you get as much information on as you can prior to purchasing. And as long as there has not a history of issues or there's no current issue, then and then you like the place, it fits your needs, it checks off the boxes. You go ahead and you roll the dice on it. And last but not least, and this happens with everybody, the majority of the time, is buyer's remorse. You're in it, you're in that scroll, but now you're scared. Now you're nervous. Am I making the right decision? Can I buy it? Do I like the neighborhood? Do I really like the place? It's a feeling, honestly, I think that most people get. I mean, even as a real estate agent, as a realtor, I've experienced that myself on purchases of homes, purchase situations where they have some buyer's remorse. And really the only way around that is to go back through the reasons why you were buying it in the first place, to get re-excited about the property and make sure that it checks the boxes. And if it checks the boxes and it makes sense, push forward. And if it doesn't, then pull out. Yeah, I know a lot of realtors don't want to hear you, don't want to say that, but I mean, that's what you have contingency periods for. That's why you do the physical inspections. That's why there's an appraisal. That's why there are these things. That's why there are these safeguards to protect buyers and sellers, for that matter, before you move forward. At any rate, if there's anything that we can do to assist you and your family and your friends with the real estate matters, we love the opportunity to speak to you and see if we can help you. God bless, and remember, no matter what you're going through in life, it's just a temporary condition. Things change, but it truly is. It's a great life. God bless.